This Defeating Adventism video is going to continue on a trend that I've had continuing in several other videos, and that is a point-by-point refutation of the silly chronological chart that appears in many places, and the one I'm going to show, of course, is in the famous, infamous, Great Controversy book. So this video is really intended to follow a previous video where it shows that 321 AD, 538 AD, and the supposed change of the Sabbath is utterly confusing. Did Constantine change the Sabbath? And did he do so without the backing of the Roman Catholic Papal System, which didn't exist until 538 AD, according to Daniel 7:25 in Adventism? Or was the Sabbath really changed in 538 AD, then really what happened in 321? It's utterly confusing. So this video here is going to, by the way, a link to that video is going to be below. This video here is going to address the aspect of Daniel 7:25 and the whole papal supremacy idea. Now, when this Adventist erroneous chronological point is shown to be false by the end of the video, and it will, so that's your spoiler alert, that's what this video is going to do, I intend to follow this video with maybe two more. I'm going to do one where, this video is going to tell you what Daniel 7:25 and ish around it is not. I need to do a video to tell you what Daniel 7 is, and that's going to follow this. And I even think I'm going to do another video following, because I think you former Seventh-day Adventists really need to get a accurate understanding of Daniel 7. Daniel 7 has been so misused and abused by the Seventh-day Adventist Church that I can just see former Seventh-day Adventists just mentioning the book of Daniel, and they turn off. You shouldn't. It's actually a really, really good book. And if you understand it accurately and correctly, I think that you'll find it just so refreshing. So anyway, I'm going to address that too, and I'm going to make some good book recommendations for you. So this point by point of the Adventist chronology is going down in flames. You're going to see that at the end, got fire all over the chart. It's going down in flames, as other points already have. So, as typical, Seventh-day Adventists read Bible passages, Bible verses. They don't read Bible passages. If Seventh-day Adventists ever started reading Bible passages, it would change them. It would revolutionize them. As some of you formers already know, because that's why some of you are formers, because that's what you did. So we're going to be really, really bad Bible students, bad ones, and we're just going to read the Bible verse, and which is actually being a very good Adventist, reading Bible verses. Don't read Bible passages. And let's look at Daniel 7:25 in the Adventist mind here and see what does it say. Let's refresh ourselves. He shall speak words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High. He shall think to change times and laws, and those shall be given into his hand for a time, times, and a half time. So that's it. Seventh-day Adventists have built a whole industry around key points of that verse. That verse is used to show what? Papal supremacy started in 538 AD, entered in 1798 AD, and the times and a half, well, that's 1260 days, and of course in Adventism we all know that days equal years, because that's what the Bible teaches. Not. Already did a video on that, by the way. Their Bible does not teach a day equals a year principle. That's already been shown false. You can get that in the show notes below. And also in this Daniel 7:25, it's the papacy that changed the Sabbath, changed times and laws. Well, that must be changing the Sabbath. I mean, there it is. So what you already saw in the previous video, like I said earlier, was the SDA don't really know what happened in 321 AD or 538 AD. When did the Sabbath really change, and by who? Remember, the Pope, the Catholic system existed in 321 AD, and then we saw other quotes in Adventist literature that said, well, no, there was no Catholic system in 321 AD. So that didn't work. So let's look at this chronological chart here. We're going to use, of course, Ellen White's Great Controversy book, and we're going to look. Here is the title cover, the copyright, 1888, and here is the chronology, the papacy set up in what, 538, ends in 1798. You see 12 in the bottom of it, 1260 years, which doesn't exist. Now let's move to an Adventist and a Review and Herald magazine. And let's see what they teach about Daniel 7:25. And this is just an example. So look here, right? We're going to look at this August 30th, 1923, page 4. What's it say? The papacy was fully established as a religious political power in the 6th century. Well, that's your 538. Of course, they reference Daniel 7:25, or in other words, the 1260 years, the Bible verse doesn't say that, of papal supremacy, ending in 1798 with the, look there, temporary overthrow of papal power. So it's only temporarily overthrown, and that marked the close of Daniel 7:25. Let's jump up about 90 years. Ministry Magazine, August of 2014. We're going to look here on page 16. And what does it say? From the 6th to the end of the 18th century, there's your 1260 years to Daniel 7:25, the church dominated the life and thinking of the people. There it is. There's papal supremacy. 538, 1798, Daniel 7:25. But then they do something different here. They're not being very good Adventists here. They quote more than one verse. Look at the very bottom. It says, but the court, immediately following Daniel 7:25, look again, but the court shall be seated, and they shall take away his dominion to consume and destroy it forever. And then what do they do also on this page? Look at this. So here's the Daniel 7:25. They got Daniel 2, Daniel 7. You can look at the right of the chart, the 1260 days, 538 to 1798. You see that? And what is it? It's Europe as divided Rome, and the 10 horns, the Roman Church, etc. So what do the ASDA believe? Daniel 7:25 is represented by the papacy, beginning in 538, ending in 1798. This beast, the papacy, is going to think to change times and laws, which is, in the Adventist mind, is to change the Sabbath. And the times and a half is 1260 days, but you whip out your Seventh-day Adventist calendar, waza waza bing, and 1260 days turn into 1260 years, which it does not. As I said, there's already a video out on that. Go to the show notes, watch that video. But here's the first problem. Was the beast destroyed permanently in 1798 or not? We've just seen two conflicting accounts. The one from 1923 and the Ministry Magazine from 2014. Let's look at that again. Here's the 1923. Look what it says in purple. Temporary overthrow of the papal power. But Ministry Magazine quotes Daniel 7:26 and says it's going to be destroyed forever. So what is it? Is the beast destroyed temporarily, or is the beast destroyed forever? Let's look at Daniel 7:26 in the Aramaic. Here's the two words, destroyed forever. We are going to look at these words here in this book. This is part of a 5-volume set I have. Extraordinarily useful. Unfortunately, very expensive. Actually, the four volumes are sitting right back there. The 5th volume of the set is Aramaic. The first 4 volumes are Hebrew lexicon. This is an Aramaic lexicon. So we're going to look at this Aramaic lexicon, and I want you to look with it on screen here right now with me. Very same book that I held up. So there's all the information. And oh, by the way, I got 8 favorable Seventh-day Adventist citations of the very same lexicon set that I have. And you can see them here from 2012 to 2016. So now we're going to go to the actual page, destroy, on this page here on page 1806. And you can look at the very bottom of the excerpt that I pulled out. What does destroy mean? As in Daniel 7:26, it means to, well, destroy. Okay, but then it says destroy forever in Daniel 7:26. So we got to go to the next word, forever, and you can see here on page 1938, it means what? And in the end, to destroy it and annihilate it, Daniel 7:26. There is no temporary here. The Aramaic, when it says destroy forever, it means to annihilate. Has the papacy been annihilated, or do they still exist today? Can I go to the Vatican and see a pope today? Doesn't sound like it got destroyed to me. So, the SDA don't know if the papacy was what? Temporarily overthrown or permanently destroyed? Daniel 7:26 is permanently destroyed, and you just saw the Aramaic, just proved it wrong. The Bible's clear, and the Aramaic's clear of the words mean to annihilate forever. The papacy exists today, hasn't been destroyed. So, sorry, Seventh-day Adventists, your understanding of Daniel 7:25 and 7:26 being the papacy, wrong. Because the papacy is still here. So, The beast is not the papacy, because it still exists. The original languages, I say it all the time, the original languages, Hebrew, Greek, Aramaic, are the enemies of Seventh-day Adventism. And Aramaic is the enemy of Seventh-day Adventism. Just this these two Aramaic words just proved your theology, your chronology, false. Because the papacy is here. Okay, now let's talk about this beast. Let's do another aspect of it. What is this beast? Does this beast just control Europe, North America, South America, Africa, Asia, the world? What's it say? Let's look at what's the domain or control of this beast. Daniel 7:23 says what? As for the fourth beast, there shall be a fourth kingdom on earth, which shall be different from all the kingdoms. And that's the three other beasts, by the way. And it shall devour the whole earth, and trample it down and break it to pieces. Okay, so the scriptures state that this beast is a kingdom that's going to devour it's the known earth. It's not the whole earth. It's the known earth, like the other three beasts did. Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, which conquered the known world. This fourth beast is going to do the same thing. Conquer the known world. Okay? So let's see in Adventism, is this beast a global power like that? Like the three previous beasts who conquered the known world? Well, let's look. What do they say in Ministry Magazine, 2014? It's Europe. What? Europe? Europe's not the world. I know it's just not, continental Europe is not the known world of the time. So the Adventists don't even recognize that. And then what do? Look at these Signs of the Times magazines. From 1935 to 1942, I kept finding this chart. And then what is it? What do they say about it? Look at the 538 to 1798 on any of these charts. And it's the dark ages of what? Papal rule of Europe. Daniel 7:23 said papal rule is going to take over the known world like the previous three kingdoms did. It's not limited to Europe, but the Adventists limit it to Europe. So papal rule is not limited to Europe. It's not the rule of the fourth beast. That's not what Daniel 7:23 says. Daniel 7:23 doesn't say the fourth beast is going to rule over Europe. No, it's going to rule over the known world as it was known at that time. It exists, and Europe is not the known world. Okay? So they're like kings or rulers which conquered the known world of their time. Look at what Nebuchadnezzar did. How about Darius, the king of Persia, conquering the known world of his time? As did Alexander the Great. And this fourth beast is supposed to be even more vicious and conquer even more of the world than the three previous kings. I don't see papal Rome doing that. Never did. Wrong. This Adventist chronology is just a mess. The Pope is not a king. Never had world power like the three kings that I just mentioned. Never conquered the known world and held up for a period of time. And then himself got conquered, and etc., which is what happened to the other three, right? The Papal System is not a king. Did not wage war. Does not have an army like the three previous beasts or kings did. Now, let's look at the Aramaic for king and kingdom. Because once again, the original languages are the enemy of Seventh-day Adventists. So here's the word for king and kingdom, singular and plural. It's really the same. It's essentially the same word. It's just one's plural. So let's look at it. Now we're going to go into a different lexicon. We're going to look at this one here. Mine's copyrighted 1979. Actually, the copyright is like in the 1860s for a first edition. And oh, by the way, I got over 20 favorable citations of this lexicon in Seventh-day Adventist literature, starting in 1866 and a recent one in 2009. So Seventh-day Adventists recognize it, so let's just look at it ourselves. And what's it say about this entry for king or kingdom? It's the dominion of a king. King, not a pope, who doesn't have a land, who doesn't have an army, who wasn't like Nebuchadnezzar or Darius the Great or Alexander the Great. No. This word here is about a domain of a king or kingdom. So what do we know? Here's what we do know. The SDA don't know if this papal system is going to be temporarily overthrown or permanently overthrown. But we know Daniel 7:26 in the Aramaic says to destroy, to annihilate. That's what you saw in the book, annihilate forever. The SDA papacy rule is Europe. Everything happens in Europe. 1798 is French, Europe. Papal rule of Europe. You saw it in their charts. It's not my charts, it's their charts. It's Europe. Daniel 7:23, it says this king is going to have a domain. It's going to be even greater and more vicious than the three previous. And that's not the papacy. The Pope is not a king. The Pope isn't a kingdom. The Pope doesn't have an army. By the way, how can you have papal supremacy, let's just say from 538 to 1798, if there are two other popes in existence during this whole period of supposed papal supremacy? Did you know that, Seventh-day Adventist? There are popes in existence? Let's look. First one here. Here is a list of the Coptic popes from Alexandria, Egypt. This is in the middle of the list. The list goes back to the beginning of time, and you're going to see here in a minute. Well, look at my arrow here. Pope Theodosius, it was news to him that there was papal supremacy because he got elected pope in 536 AD, and he was pope till 567 AD. And here is the current pope of the Coptic Church, Pope Tadros. Interesting. Let's go to another pope. How about the Eastern Orthodox Church? Look, Mark the Evangelist, as in the Gospel of Mark. That's where they stake their claim as their beginning. And look at these list of popes. And the list of popes continues to Pope Paul, who was elected pope in 537. Well, that must have been news to him that there was papal supremacy because, well, he got elected pope. And here is the pope today, Theodore, pope sitting in Alexandria. Papal supremacy? Papal supremacy of what? We got popes we got the Coptic Pope, we got the Eastern Orthodox Pope, you got the Roman Catholic Pope. There's no papal supremacy. And again, what does Daniel 7:26 say? But the court shall sit in judgment and take away and the consumed and destroyed to the end. That didn't happen. Not only is the Roman Catholic Church still in existence today, contrary to Daniel 7:26, which is supposed to be destroyed forever, but there's two other popes, and there always have been at all times. What kind of papal supremacy is that when you got two other popes in existence? None. Now, papal supremacy really ended with Muhammad. Yeah, Muhammad. Allah Akbar, Muhammad. The Quran, Muhammad. Within 100 years of Muhammad's death, from which he died in 632, poisoned by a Jewish woman that he took captive, which is funny. Within 100 years of Muhammad's death, 3 of the 5 religious centers established in early Christianity gone, taken over by the Muslims. Look here, Alexandria, Antioch, Jerusalem, gone. That left only Rome and Constantinople, the east and the west, to about 750 AD. How is it papal supremacy? Would the Muslim invaders come and take 3 of your 5 historic Christian centers, bishops, centers, take them from you? And that's papal supremacy from 538 to 1798? No, it looks like much more like Muslim supremacy to me. So then what happens? Well, Muslim supremacy continues. Constantinople falls in 1453. 4 of the 5 Christian historic centers now, from the beginning and starting of Christianity, to they had 5 centers where they had 5 bishops. 4 of them are gone. By 1453, the 4th one falls. Only leaves the one in Rome by 1453. And this is papal supremacy? Losing 4 of your 5 religious centers to the Muslims? Muslim supremacy to me. Maybe Ellen White got her chronological chart wrong. It should be Muslim supremacy. So anyway, what happened in 1798? Besides, I want to say nothing. Let's look at Adventist Review and Herald magazine. They'll tell us what's going on. We're going to look at this magazine here from February of 1940. And what does it say? In 1798, the papacy received a deadly wound in the taking away of its spiritual dominion. So the taking away of a spiritual dominion is to lose control? Keep that in mind. Let's continue reading. When Pope Pius VI was taken prisoner by the French army, I got to stop here again. The Pope is taken captive by the French. 1798. Let's go back and keep reading. Sorry. Start again. When the Pope, Pius VI, was taken prisoner by the French army and carried away into captivity, then was fulfilled the prophetic prediction. And then they go on to say, well, other popes before this had been dethroned. Wait, stop here. Really? So they're admitting, they're like, okay, well, this is like the key event. The Pope was dethroned. Well, by the way, others had been dethroned too. So it's like, then what's the big deal? It already happened. Then read at the bottom of the page. The dethronement of Pope Pius VI was the only papal overthrow which came at the end of the 1260 days of papal supremacy. Daniel 7:25. The only papal overthrow at the because he's the only pope in existence? No, there's two other popes in existence, by the way. You just saw that. Remember what they said. Papal supremacy was supposed to end in 1798 because the pope was overthrown by the French. Now, don't you know this has already happened? Look with me here. History Channel. And I'm going to blow up the text here for you. Here's the Pope. He's looking really distressed. What happens? In 1303, the French king sent goons to attack and kidnap the Pope. They held him for hostage. He never recovered, and he died. Philip IV, the King of France, captured the Pope in September of 1303. French capturing the Pope? Does that sound familiar? Not 1798, but 1303. So much for papal supremacy. How can you have papal supremacy if the French can get a dozen or so knights together, go to Rome, and capture the Pope? That's papal supremacy in 1303? So much for papal supremacy. Then the local town people, not a Pope army of papal supremacy, but some local town people heard about it and said, hey, we got to get our Pope back. But you know what happened, though? First, they didn't realize it. These Frenchmen held him for 3 days, locked him up, dethroned him, ransacked the palace. And this is another sign of papal supremacy. They ransacked the palace. Some local townspeople heard about it and said, oh, we got to rescue the Pope. Let's get some people together. No papal supremacy army to rescue him. There was the local townspeople, went into the French, said, release our Pope, and they did. And then they went back home and the Pope died the next month. Okay. That's demonstrated papal supremacy? No. So what was so unique about 1798? Nothing. The French did it almost 500 years. The French, again, did it almost 500 years earlier. Absolutely nothing unique about it. So let's look at this chart here. Let's see what we know. Pope was removed from office in 1303. And that's papal supremacy? Sorry, not a very good supremacy by the Pope there. How about this? Papal Europe. European supremacy. Well, Daniel 7:23 says it's a worldwide supremacy, not Europe. Within 100 years of Muhammad, Alexandria, Antioch, Jerusalem fall to the Muslims. Sounds like more like Muslim supremacy here in 750 AD. And of course, we have a trinity of popes in existence before this papal supremacy and after this papal supremacy existed. We got Muslim empire that is conquering most of the known Christian world from 630 to 750, not just taking the three centers I mentioned, but conquering most of the known Christian world. And then what happens lastly? The fourth bishop center of the fourth of the five fall in 1453, and Constantinople is now gone. And this is papal supremacy. By the way, Daniel 7:26 says what? The beast is going to be destroyed. We saw that in Aramaic. Sorry, papacy still exists today. And the Adventists don't even know in their own literature. Is this power going to be turned off temporarily or permanently? Well, we saw in the scriptures that it's destroyed forever. And by the way, this fourth beast is a king and a kingdom, not a religious leader. It's a king and a kingdom, like Nebuchadnezzar was a king and a kingdom, like Darius the Mede was a king and a kingdom, like Alexander the Great was a king and a kingdom. And the Pope doesn't match this. So what do we have? We have an epic fail of this silly chronological chart of Adventism, which doesn't hold up to the scriptures at all. It is utterly destroyed. Hebrews 4:12. For the word of God is living and active, sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing the division of soul and spirit, of joints and the marrow, and discerning the thoughts and intentions of the heart. This wrecking ball is destroyed. This false Seventh-day Adventist chronology of Daniel 7:25, 538 AD, 1798 AD are false.